The night of Halloween had finally arrived, and I was excited, ready to hit the streets with my best friend. Jack-o'-lanterns lit up the darkness, and the air was filled with the smell of candy and laughter. As we discussed our plan for the night, I couldn't help but remember my mother's warning. She always talked about the street famous for its high-quality candy, but also warned of the danger surrounding it. "It's better to avoid it, son," she would say in a serious tone. "Many don't come back from there." But my friend, always daring, shook his head. "Oh, come on. That candy must be amazing. Think of the adventure." The gleam in his eyes was contagious, and my hesitation began to fade. The adrenaline of disobeying my mother and chasing something so delicious was tempting. I hesitated for a moment, recalling my mother's voice echoing in my head, but his excitement convinced me. "Okay, let's do this," I said, and soon we were walking toward that forbidden street, each step filled with a mix of fear and excitement. What could go wrong? We walked down the street, and the darkness seemed to grow thicker with every step we took. The atmosphere had changed quickly. The houses around us were older and had a haunting appearance, as if they were waiting for something, or someone. My heart was beating faster, but the excitement of exploring that forbidden place still pushed me forward. Finally, we arrived at a house that looked like it came straight out of a nightmare: broken windows, creaking doors, and shadows dancing on the walls. My friend, without a second thought, approached the door and knocked with a defiant smile. "Let's see what kind of candy they have here." The atmosphere instantly shifted. A deep silence enveloped the scene, and a chill ran down my spine. As the door began to open slowly, the darkness seemed to spread, swallowing everything around us. A shiver ran through my body, but my friend was so excited he seemed not to notice. Then, before I could react, he was pulled inside the house, as if something invisible had grabbed him. "Wait!" I shouted, but he had already disappeared into the darkness. The only sign that he had been there was his candy basket, which had fallen to the ground and flipped over, the candy scattered in a colorful mess next to the door. The silence was deafening, and a cold panic settled over me. I was alone, surrounded by the darkness of the house, and the reality of what had just happened began to hit me. Alone and in shock, I stood frozen at the door of the house, staring into the dark interior. The feeling of a malevolent presence surrounded me, as if something invisible was watching me. I hesitated for a moment, my heart pounding erratically, but the mix of curiosity and fear of losing my friend pushed me to step inside. Every step I took seemed to echo, breaking the oppressive silence that filled the space. The air was icy, and as I explored the gloomy interior, something felt terribly wrong. I began to find disturbing clues: a torn jacket on the floor, a flashlight tossed in a corner, and a metallic smell that turned my stomach. My mind tried to piece together what had happened to my friend and why this street was so feared. Then, the silence was broken by distant whispers and shadows that seemed to dance on the walls. A shiver ran down my spine, and I realized that at any moment, I could be the next target. Desperation began to take hold of me. I needed to find a way out before the house decided to swallow me too. With every corner I turned, the fear grew, and the darkness seemed to close in around me. The climax was approaching, revealing an unimaginable horror, and I knew that my fate was in the hands of this cursed house. What awaited me next? Would I escape, or would I become just another legend of that dark street? In a small town where Halloween always brought joy and excitement, this year I felt that something was different. The atmosphere was heavy, and a mist of mystery hung in the air. Rumors began circulating among the young people about an exclusive party at an abandoned mansion, a place known for its dark past. Mysterious invitations started to arrive, and though the adults whispered about the massacre that had occurred there decades ago, curiosity got the better of me and my friends. It was hard to resist the promise of an unforgettable night, full of fun and adrenaline. Ignoring the warnings and the dark stories surrounding the house, we decided we would take the risk. The feeling of excitement outweighed the fear that was beginning to creep into my chest. We got ready with costumes, laughter, and plans for the party, not realizing that the night we had been so eagerly awaiting could turn into a real nightmare. When we arrived at the mansion, the scene seemed exciting at first glance. Loud music filled the air, and the themed decorations created a festive atmosphere, with flickering candles on the tables and masked guests dancing in the hall. My friends and I exchanged excited looks, our fears momentarily forgotten. But soon, I realized something was wrong. The masked people never took off their masks, and a strange feeling began to creep into the room. The laughter grew more distant, as if something dark was lurking beneath the surface of the fun. As the night went on, the tension mounted. Every hour, one of the young guests disappeared without explanation. At first, I thought it was just tricks to keep the party interesting, but panic began to set in when those who vanished reappeared. They were no longer the same. There was something inhuman about them, a glint in their eyes that sent chills down my spine. With that, the true nature of the party began to reveal itself, and a terrifying doubt spread among us. What was really happening in that mansion? The once vibrant atmosphere was now weighed down by an oppressive feeling, and I realized that the party we had eagerly awaited might turn into an endless nightmare. As midnight approached, a sense of despair began to spread among us. We were trapped in that mansion, and the only way out seemed to be in the hands of the masked host, who always seemed one step ahead. At every corner, with every door we opened, the shadows followed us, and the laughter echoed like a sinister reminder of what was at stake. We decided to investigate the mansion in search of answers. What we found were disturbing clues about the massacre that had taken place there and the true purpose of the party. The walls seemed to whisper secrets, and as the number of disappearances grew, the tension in our group reached a breaking point. When we finally confronted the host, the atmosphere was thick with terror. He offered us a horrifying choice: survival or sacrifice. What he revealed was more terrifying than any of us could have imagined. On that Halloween night, some masks were never removed, and the party never ended for those who dared to accept the invitation. As the clock struck midnight, a wave of despair washed over me. What would happen to us? And as the echoes of malevolent laughter filled the air, the truth began to crystallize. Our fate was in the hands of the host, and the reality we knew might disappear forever.